One, Andrew would call that voodoo economics in another political time than now. And of course it is. This idea that somehow if you can have more people consuming more things, that necessarily grows our economy because the GDP goes up. And I've heard this argument from many of the Gang of Eight advocates. They will say that we will, if we grow our population, then will increase the GDP. Well, of course we will. If one of the 11 million, 22, 33, 44, or 55 million that might be part of this Gang of Eight's bill, if one of them did 1 hour's work, that would contribute the value of that hour's work to the GDP, and you could say it necessarily grows. But the other side of this demand side of the economy, on the supply side, is this. You must produce a good or a service that has a marketable value here or abroad. That's how you grow your economy. And if you have people that are consuming more than they're producing, then you're a debtor nation. That's where we are today. 100 million Americans of working age simply not in the workforce, while they're talking about bringing in many more people who are no-skilled, low-skilled, many times illiterate, and don't have the job skills to assimilate into the broader society. That's a definite negative, and no objective view will come to any other conclusion. Unless you've got a political gain out of it, then you try to spin it.
Now you've got Harry Reid saying that he knows Boehner's going to cave here. That's not when you cave when the other side said you're... What, is Boehner going to cave on command now?
Well, I didn't hear him say that, but I absolutely take you at your word. I'm absorbing what that means.
Trust me,
Andrew. That's a bold and cocky statement from a Harry Reid. I would hope there's hope for us over here in the House of Representatives. And we have Speaker Boehner, who has said that he's not going to violate the Hastert rule. He's not going to conference on the Gang of Eight. It's going to require a majority of the majority before anything comes to the floor. That last thing I just said doesn't satisfy me. I don't think that anything should come to the floor of the House of Representatives that has to do with immigration, not even a good type border security bill or an interior domestic enforcement bill, because it has zero chance of getting to the president's desk for a signature without amnesty first being attached. And they can't get around that argument. I've been making the argument for over a year in this Congress. They can't get past that because they're moving towards amnesty, some of them. They want it for whatever myopic reason, and it can't be defended from a Republican's perspective, a constitutional perspective, or a rule of law perspective, or an economic one, as you've illustrated.
I just had former Governor Haley Barbour on the program, and I couldn't get him to explain to me how the piecemeal approach would be so different than the comprehensive approach. And Boehner just hired this Rebecca Talent who says we got to have a piecemeal approach so, you know, the conservatives in the House will get on board. I can't get anyone to explain to me how 10 dimes is different than a dollar.
That's the best description I've heard of the. Well,
feel free to use it on the floor.
This piecemeal approach. Yeah, I'm going to use that. Why is 10 dimes different than a dollar? That I can explain to a lot of people with a short attention span, and that's the business that you're in, and I need to be in it. I sit on the Judiciary Committee. I've been on the Immigration Subcommittee of Judiciary now since 2003. I don't know anybody in this Congress that sat through more immigration hearings, read more testimony, more documents, more studies, been more engaged in this immigration policy in this House side than I've been. And I will tell you that I don't understand how a step-by-step approach can yield anything good if you care about the rule of law, if you care about the economy, if you care about the extension of the American civilization. There's not a rationale for that either, and I think you've described it. 10 dimes is a dollar. It's just a different way of dealing it out. And again, the president has proven that he is completely unreliable, or else reliable to push his agenda, regardless of the constraints. We had an extraordinary hearing in Judiciary yesterday that dealt with the limitations and the abuse of powers of the president. And anyone that would have listened to all of that expert testimony that was there and all the questions that came out can only conclude that this president is not constrained by the Constitution. He is proud of having taught constitutional law as an adjunct professor at the University of Chicago for 10 years. He has taken an oath to uphold the Constitution. He's preached about him believing in the Constitution, but he defies it, and he defies his own oath of office time and again.
I got to get you on the Speaker of the House. If he comes to the floor with a piecemeal approach, are you going to renew your push to remove him as Speaker?
Well, you know, I don't want to go there on that topic if I can avoid it, Andrew, but I'll say this, that anything that brings immigration to the floor of the House of Representatives.
I don't think we should avoid it. I don't think we should avoid it. I don't think John Boehner deserves to be Speaker of the House. And if conservatives put their voices out there saying, Mr. Speaker, you do this, we're going to try to remove you, I think he needs to hear it.
Well, here's what I'll say. Anything that comes up immigration-wise that would be brought to the floor, we would know that it is the vehicle for capitulation to Amnesty, and it would split the Republican conference like a splitting wedge will go down through a piece of firewood. And then we'll have Republicans fighting Republicans. The Speaker just said on Tuesday that Obamacare is the subject, and it is dragging Democrats down and the president down. He's many times said that if your opposition is committing suicide, don't get in the way, let them continue. He said we cannot change the subject, let the subject stay on Obamacare. I think, and I'm hopeful that the Speaker will hold to his word, and I don't want to upset that, but I see the employment.
I got one for you. If you want to see Republicans fighting Republicans, look at the Senate. Ted Cruz, John McCain. Republicans are already fighting Republicans. Conservatives need to win this one.